The next price guide I want to go through is the vehicles price guide. So this one covers all the ships and vehicles and things like that that you would put your action figures in and enact all the various scenes when you were a kid. So I'm talking the X-Wing fighter, the TIE fighter, the Jawa sandcrawler, if you were lucky enough to ever get one of those. So all that kind of stuff. So once again, I'm at the landing page of the website, and so I'm going to go up to price guides and scroll down a little bit. So the next section after carded figures is for the vehicles. And once again, in keeping of this page, it's just picked out 3 random items to give you some price guide information for. But then if you want to see everything, so you've got this see all vehicles button here that you can click, and here we have everything listed out for you that's a vehicle. So it's a fairly large page, and it's in alphabetical order, so you can either just scroll through looking for whichever item you're after, or alternatively here on the website you can just start typing in, and then that'll take you down the page a bit quicker. So I'm going to, for the purposes of demonstrating this price guide, I'm going to pretend that I'm interested in a Darth Vader Tie Fighter, and I'm not sure whether I just want it to be loose or if I want it to come with some sort of packaging and box. So I'll go through both of those scenarios because they do have their nuances, and the price guides cater for various kinds of situations that can affect the pricing of that. So we've found our area in the price guide here that is listing the loose Darth Vader TIE Fighter, and then we also see that there's some various packaging variations that Star Wars Tracker knows about as well. So I'm just going to start with the full pricing details for a loose one. Now, this is the first price guide that probably differs the most from the loose figure and the carded figure and Power of the Force coin price guides, because vehicles are a little bit more of a complicated item because they have lots of pieces, and pieces can get broken or just are missing. And so the price guide attempts to try and cover all those scenarios for you, but you have to be aware of various filters that you need to be applying in order to get the prices for the right thing. So I'm going to go through that a little bit for you now, just to make it a bit clearer what that actually means. So a loose Darth Vader TIE Fighter essentially means there's no packaging along with it, so it doesn't have its box. And so I've got a stock image here of the Darth Vader TIE Fighter, just to confirm that that is the item that you're interested in. Again, standard sections here where we've just got an overall number of price points captured, and the amount of money that has been spent across those 1,446 examples. The universal rankings in this case are 22 out of 33, and so the 33 here is a ranking against all other vehicles. So this will be a Darth Vader TIE Fighter ranked against an X-Wing, a Jawa sandcrawler, a Tatooine skiff, a Slave One, a Millennium Falcon, all the vehicles. So I've noted 33 vehicles, and this is ranked 22 in terms of availability, so it's pretty available compared to all other ships. Reasonably, it's not as valuable as the rest, so these rankings are pretty much in tune with each other, fairly available, and therefore not so valuable. And the rankings between the current year 2024 and the lifetime are reasonably similar. reasonably similar. They're just differing by a couple of rankings out of the 33 in each case. Okay, so below that, we've got a new section, which is the known packaging variations for a Darth Vader TIE Fighter. So essentially this is saying what kind of boxes did this thing appear in over the course of the toys being in stalls, and what contributes to this variation is basically the licensee, or what country that the item was produced in, and then any changes in the boxes for that licensee through various market forces and revisions to marketing and changes to appeal to the kids to buy the item if they hadn't already. So in the case of the Darth Vader TIE Fighter, I've noted 11 different packaging variations. So there's a bit of a coding system here where we've got the licensee across the top of the reference picture. So there's a lot of Kenner. There's the UK Palitoy, Kenner Canada, PBP, which is a Spanish licensee, Lily Letty, the Mexican licensee, and then there's also a code underneath that for Star Wars A revision, B revision, C revision, and so forth. So hopefully that's self-explanatory and you can follow along with that. I'll come back to this section a little bit later, but I want to start explaining some of the filters that you can apply to the vehicle price guide, which I hinted at earlier. So we've already seen the ungraded and graded buttons, and by implication the both, and how that affects the price guide display. But now we have an additional one where we've got 3 different toggles that we can use. So currently it's on all, and all means we're going to show both complete and incomplete items. So if we change this and choose complete, what this is now showing us is all sales in the market and the prices for which the Darth Vader TIE Fighter was complete. So it had both wings, had the battery cover, had the seat inside, like everything that makes up a full functional toy. If we click incomplete, then this is just going to show us examples where perhaps one of the wings was broken, or it was missing the battery cover, or there was something else described that indicated to you that it wasn't complete. You'd have to go and find a missing part to actually have a complete example of this. So I think that's a really important point to firstly recognize, and secondly actually apply when you're looking at the price guides. So by default, when you come to the detailed pricing screen, you're seeing all prices. But I think, well, I'll talk for myself. If I only really like complete items in my collection, and so I wouldn't really go buying a Darth Vader TIE Fighter if it didn't have everything that came with it. So for that reason, if I was looking to see how much I might need to spend to go and get one of these in the market, I'm going to make sure that I have complete selected there. And so I'm only interested in ungraded, complete Darth Vader TIE Fighters. So this has now rearranged the price guide to give me just that data. And so again, I'm going to look at the 50 percentile band price, and I see it coming out at $80. And then a couple of bands either side of that are going from 65 all the way up to 100. So I've got a reasonable idea of, anywhere from, say, 70 up to 100 is a pretty good ballpark to be able to end up with a complete Darth Vader TIE Fighter that doesn't have a box. So we now have the visual representation of that data above. And now we can start going into some of the raw price points with some of the images. And we can see exactly what's going on. So let's have a look at the top end of that range that I just specified. So there's something here for $93. And so it's a great picture, very well photographed. So nice clean looking wings, looks to be nicely put together, holding together. The wings come off. Nice decal there on the seat, and the seat is actually still in there. It's got both of the hatch covers. So yep, that's a pretty good example. So we've got that as a reference for the top end at near 100. Let's have a look for something down at the very low end. So we've got something here for 42. And so, yep, so here we see it's missing the decals on the wings. Inside the battery compartment, it looks good though, nice and clean. But yeah, I think it's just the stickers that are hurting that one. Otherwise, you know, it's got the seat inside. Okay. And then let's look for something in the middle of that. So something around maybe the 60 looks good. Let's have a look at that one. So yeah, so it's got both wings. It's nice hatch closing. It's got the seat inside. It's got the decals on the wings, but some of them have started to curl up at the sides, so not quite as crisp as what we have seen previously. But otherwise, you know, it looks like a nice example. Okay, so yeah, I mean, so I think, yeah, anywhere up to 90, 75 to 90, that'd be a good range to spend on one of those. So let's, just for fun, have a look at graded Darth Vader TIE Fighters and if there is actually any data. So it's not unheard of, but it is uncommon for people to grade loose ships like this, but it does happen. So I've got an example from 2021. Well, I've got two examples from 2021. And so it came in at UKG 90s. And I do find that UKG tends to grade more ships than AFA that I've seen in my experience so far. But so here we see it in a custom acrylic case. It's got the label here. It's in the 90% gold band according to UKG. So if you are in the market for a graded ship like this, then there are some reference points for you. What's the lowest price there? It's probably the 2018 one. And that was a UKG 85, so a little bit more a higher grade, but the price was lower, but that makes sense because it was a few years previous. So yep, that checks out. Okay, so yeah, I just wanted to show you that because you can filter the price guide to show you graded loose ships. So I'm just going to go back to the ungraded view of this now. And in fact, let's talk about the packaging variations now. So I've shown you the price guide for a loose example of something, but say that you wanted to actually have the packaging to display on your shelf and you really just have your heart set on as close to store-bought as you could get it. So let's focus on the first edition Kenner example here. So in the case of these vehicles that have packaging, you have a reference picture of what the Kenner Star Wars A looks like. And again, the same sort of information here on the right. You've got overall sales and volume, you've got the universal rankings, and the rankings in this case, when the packaging is involved, the universe expands a little bit because it now includes all the packaging variation across all vehicles. So The rankings are done, so a Darth Vader TIE Fighter against an X-Wing, against a Slave One, etc., and includes all the packaging variation within that world as well. So that's why it jumps from 33 up to 157 there. And so this packaging variation for a Darth Vader TIE Fighter is pretty much in the middle in terms of availability for 2024 anyway. It was or is more available when you consider the lifetime of the price set that I have. So essentially what that says to me is a Star Wars A version of the packaging is a very common vehicle set to get. So a Darth Vader TIE Fighter in this packaging is pretty common. And the value ranks back that up because it's the value ranks are lower, therefore not worth as much money comparatively. So this next section has just another extra filter now. So when packaging is involved, there's another couple of conditions to consider, and that's whether the whole item is a mint in a sealed box example, or if it's open. And if it's been opened, then you have the decision to make whether you're looking for the item to be complete, or at the bottom of the scale, if it's got packaging, it's been opened, and the vehicle is missing some parts. So therefore you have packaging which is incomplete. So the most expensive form of this filter is going to be the mint in sealed box version. And my price guide shows me that I only have 3 prices available for reference for that. So there was one in 2020, which sold for $705. And then there was an example back in 2016 that sold for a bit over $300. So a pretty big jump there, almost or over a doubling in price in the 4 years. But I'm going to take a guess here, and what I'm going to expect is that there may be some more graded examples that are mint in sealed box, and there are a couple. So we've got 3 versus 5 now. So I do see this trend emerging at the moment. So if something is mint in sealed box, then highly likely that at some stage it ends up being sent away to the graders and graded, and then sealed in the acrylic to preserve the sealed nature of the item. And the jump from an ungraded to a graded mint in sealed box item can be quite massive. So in 2024, I've got one example of this, and it's an AFA 75. So here's the reference picture from that. So 75, maybe it was had some points taken off because the box has got a bit of scuffing here. So that's one side of the box. I think that's the other side. So a bit of damage to the box there as well. And you know, the box isn't pristine on the outside. So AFA 75. There's one price back here in 2019 which really stands out. It's almost $20,000. So that requires some investigation. So it was sold at Hakes. That's an AFA 85. So let's go see if we can pull up some pictures for that. And here we are here. So let's try and take a closer look. Yeah, so it's still got some damage up there on the box. So I can't explain how grading works for you. I mean, that side of the box looks pretty good, but it's still got some scuffing here. So anyway, the grading company gave it 85, and yeah, pretty eye-watering amount, $20,000 at Hakes for that one. So compared to an AFA 50 here, $300, quite a jump in price. So 2021, what have we got here? So another one at Hakes. So an AFA 75 at Hakes there. And then the AFA 50 there again. Yeah. So, I mean, the prices can be pretty volatile for mint and sealed box items. So that's part and parcel of there not being very many data points to get any statistics from. And then the number of people involved with going after the sale can vary each time as well. And that can have an effect on the final price, pushing it up or keeping it low. So I think, yeah, you just got to come up with your plan if you're going to go after something like that, and figure out what your budget is and stick to the plan, I think. Okay, so that's the graded mint in sealed box filter. And yeah, so depending on what you want, it's up to you to make sure you click the right things here. So let's try the ungraded incomplete. And so this is going to give me prices for sales that had a box, but the actual TIE Fighter must have been incomplete in some way. Yeah, so just remember just to adjust the filters here, depending on what you're actually looking for. And then you can do your analysis mechanics to go through the percentile band table, find out where your sweet spot is, what you're willing to spend, and then you can go and look at the reference pictures and come up with a good plan on when to buy something when it hits your target. Yep, so hopefully that makes sense for the vehicle price guide. So remember that you've got a loose example that you can go and look at prices for. So if we go back up to the top here, following the breadcrumb trail, you can always click on, in this case, the Darth Vader Tie Fighter, and get the pricing tile for the loose example. And you can start from there, and then you can choose to go into some of the licensee differences if that appeals to you and makes sense for what you're actually after. Okay, that'll do it for this one. Until next time, happy collecting.